It all started with a dream. A peaceful home tucked away in the hills, surrounded by trees and open skies, my own piece of paradise. I'd worked my entire adult life to afford this property. Every penny I earned went into buying that quiet little plot just outside of town. No neighbors on either side, just nature and solitude. So you can imagine my surprise when a woman I'd never met before walked onto my land, hands on hips, face twisted into a scowl, and told me, no, ordered me, to stop construction immediately. Her reason? This land falls under her HOA, she claimed, and I apparently needed her approval to build anything. But there was just one small issue. I wasn't part of her HOA, not by a long shot. Welcome to the chaos. Buckle in. I first noticed her car, a gleaming oversized SUV parked right at the edge of my property line. She didn't knock, she didn't call, she didn't even announce herself politely. Instead, she marched straight over to the crew I had hired to begin excavation for the foundation and barked, "You need to stop right now. This construction isn't authorized." At first, my contractor thought she was some kind of inspector. He paused the machinery and came over to get me. I walked out of the RV I'd been temporarily staying in and met her face to face. That's when it really began. "You can't build here," she said, her voice sharp and entitled. "This property is part of the Pinecrest Valley HOA. You're required to submit plans, obtain approval, and wait through the review process before any development can begin." I blinked. "Ma'am, this property isn't part of any HOA," I told her calmly. "I did my research. It's outside all HOA lines. That's why I bought it." She scoffed like I was some clueless teenager trying to cheat a system she'd built herself. "That's incorrect," she snapped. "All land within a 5-mile radius falls under Pinecrest Valley jurisdiction. Maybe your realtor didn't tell you." Now here's the kicker. I had verified the lot's legal status multiple times, with my real estate lawyer, with the county. I even had the paperwork in my email and printed out inside my RV. There was no HOA. None. Nada. Zilch. Still, she refused to budge. She gave me a tight-lipped smile, clearly trying to intimidate me with her supposed authority. "If you don't stop now, I'll be forced to file a cease and desist and notify code enforcement. You won't get far. Trust me." I told her I would gladly speak to any legal authorities she contacted, but until then we would continue working. She stormed off, but not before snapping photos of my crew, my equipment, and my RV like she was gathering evidence for a courtroom drama. The next day she was back with a clipboard, and this time she brought a laminated badge from the HOA board. Yes, laminated. She waved it around like it meant something to me. "I'm the HOA president. You've officially been notified. Stop all work or face consequences." At this point, I was getting annoyed. I told her, again, that my land was not in the HOA. She demanded proof. So I went inside and printed off the deed, the parcel map, and my lawyer's notes that highlighted the boundaries. I walked out, handed them to her, and said, "Here, take a look." She didn't even read them. She glanced at the title, scoffed again, and muttered, "These things can be forged." Then she said the wildest thing I've ever heard. "We'll just absorb your lot into the HOA. It's easier than you think. The board has done it before." Wait, what? Absorb my land like some corporate Pac-Man? That's not how property law works. At this point, it felt less like a neighborhood dispute and more like a land grab from a medieval baroness who thought she had divine right over everything she could see. I called my lawyer that evening. He assured me that what she was threatening was both illegal and completely unenforceable. But just in case, we drafted a formal notice of non-association with the HOA and delivered it by certified mail to her board. The next week, it got worse. She returned, but this time, she had backup. 2 other HOA board members and a clipboard with what she claimed was a petition signed by homeowners demanding my construction be stopped. They stood on the edge of my property, recording video, while loudly reading off phony bylaws that didn't apply to me in the slightest. Code 17.8 clearly states no permanent structures may be erected without prior HOA review, blah, blah, blah. I filmed the entire exchange, calmly, quietly, and then, without warning, she called the police. That's right. HOA Karen told the dispatcher that I was defying community regulations, disrupting the neighborhood peace, and possibly building illegally. So when the officer showed up, I thought, finally, sanity. He approached, listened to both sides, and then asked to see my property documents. I handed them over. He looked everything over and within 5 minutes turned to her and said, "Ma'am, this gentleman's property is not part of your HOA. He's within his rights to build here. If you continue to harass him, we may need to file a complaint for trespassing." She lost her mind. Red in the face, she screamed, "This officer clearly doesn't understand the rules. We'll take it to court. This land belongs to our community." The officer, bless him, was cool as ice. "No, ma'am, this land belongs to him. Now please step off his property." That moment was priceless. You could almost see the steam shooting out of her ears. Still, she wasn't done. 2 days later, construction materials were mysteriously removed from my site. My lumber, gone. My gravel, gone. My fence posts snapped. Surveillance footage revealed a truck pulling in at night and 2 masked figures hauling things off. Guess whose SUV had pulled up right before it happened, sighed. Yup, Karen's. Now it wasn't just harassment, it was theft and vandalism. Police took the footage seriously and opened an investigation. I pressed charges and not long after they brought her in for questioning. She denied everything, of course, claimed it was all a misunderstanding, that she had no idea who those people were. But when asked why her vehicle was seen circling my property multiple times that week, at 1 a.m., she had no explanation. Things spiraled from there. Turns out, she'd pulled this kind of stunt before with other residents near the HOA boundaries. She had a history of intimidation tactics, manipulating documents, and even trying to get undeveloped land forcibly annexed into HOA control through shady legal maneuvers. She saw herself as some kind of community protector, a self-appointed queen of suburbia. The local news picked up the story. Once it aired, emails flooded in. People who had also dealt with her wrote in with similar tales. One couple said she threatened to have their power shut off if they didn't contribute to HOA landscaping costs, even though they lived 4 blocks outside of Pinecrest Valley. In the end, justice prevailed. Karen was served with a restraining order, preventing her from entering my land or contacting me. The police issued fines, and the HOA board was forced to reevaluate its leadership. Under pressure from the community, and with mounting legal costs, Karen eventually stepped down as president. As for me, I finished building my dream home. And on the first night I spent there, I stood on my porch, drink in hand, stars above me, and smiled. Freedom tastes better when you fought for it. And to the Karens of the world, here's a message. You don't own the land just because you can see it from your backyard. You don't control your neighbors just because you slapped a badge on a lanyard. And you sure as hell can't rewrite property law to suit your fantasies. Because I own this land, and no laminated badge, no clipboard, and no fake petition is ever going to change that.